Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, everybody. Welcome on into the Dragon's Den. My name's Digital Dragon, 3D printing variety streamer here on Twitch. What does that mean? Well, it means I do everything from printer unboxings like our X1 Carbons and the Creality K1C here to full up printer builds like the Vorons, the LH Stinger, and mods as well. We also take part in various beta testings and some prototyping on this channel as well. So we kind of do a little bit of everything. Hey, Lost Inc., what's up? Welcome on in. So, hey, Mr. Wizix, how's it going? Welcome in. Welcome in. Got our coffee. Good to go. Mm-mm-mm. So hope everybody's doing well tonight. I'm wearing my Pez Liz shirt since I didn't have it earlier because it was in the wash. So we're going to be repping some Pez Liz today in celebration of her making partner. So, hey, Benchy, how's it going? Oh, no worries about it, Lost Inc. I mean, it happens. Hey, Eagle the Dragon, welcome in. It does happen, Lost Inc. God knows I've slept through a few streams myself here and there. Um, well, the good news is that at least tried something. That's good. Um, so I hope everybody's doing well. I'm doing great. Trying to figure out why I can't get this PTFE tube out of here and why that's pretty darn loose and wobbly. But anyhow, um, yep, Pez Liz. Pez Liz is awesome, that's for sure. Yeah, sometimes you just got to catch up on your sleep. Like, I don't know, and you might have been up until 2 in the morning working on a printer. I mean, it happens occasionally, I hear. Um, Speaking about 2 a.m. and printers, um, the monstrosity is pretty much wired up. It's alive. It is alive. We can move it, home it, do all those things. Um, so what I did yesterday um, was I worked really, really hard at getting the wiring done up, um, cutting all the wires to fit, making sure that most of it's routed along the back of the printer and so forth. The only wires that aren't, I'll say, properly done at this point are the bed wires. And I say that because right now I went back to just setting up the two Wago connectors and running some 18 gauge or 16, I believe this is 18 gauge wire with a couple of forks. I have not connected this yet. I do have the bed thermistor plugged in just because without the bed thermistor, it throws all kinds of errors. And we all know that if you don't have thermistor inputs, it just automatically shuts down Clipper. So what we've got here, let me go back over here to the full display, is a couple of things here. Hey, Bearded Printer, how's it going? Welcome in. Finally shed that coal. No, there's still crap up there hanging around. I'm still fighting with it. It's like an ex-girlfriend. It just can't take no and leave. Just won't listen. But anyhow, I did something interesting. So I was trying to set up the CB1 here. So we got a CB1 module. Whoops, let me do it this way. Right, we got a CB1 module sitting on a Pi 4B adapter. I could not get this to come up on the network and be read or do anything. Don't know what's up. When I was out looking at the information, I'm not even sure if a CB1 will run on the Pi 4B sled. I think this will only work with Raspberry Pi CM modules, because I see no reference for installing CB1 software. I see no reference to a CB1 for this board. So what I did was I took this back out and I put in a Big Tree Tech Pi 1.2 because I have one of those. And before you ask, I am running it over 5 volt from the Octopus, and I'll show you guys all that wiring here in a minute. And going through UART, because I really don't have access to the USB slots over here unless I'm going in with like a 90-degree, and I'm not going to go pay for one of those. So, we grab you guys and bring you in here a little bit, and we'll see what we're doing. So, as you can see, we've got all of our motor wires in place. We've got all of our power in place, except for the bed out. So we'll have to work on that. And that just comes around here to some Wegos. And for right now, I'm running the standard Ender Craptastic, connectors. I'm probably going to swap this out. And I think what I'm going to do is go get some either nicer 18 gauge silicone wire or something. I'll figure that out. But I'm going to swap this out. Not 18, but probably 16 gauge there. But right now, all of this is 18 gauge FEP coming in. And we're supplying voltage to what we got: motor power, the board power, and bed power. This is a 24 volt powered bed. So we've got our hot end here. We've got our 2 fans. We've got our, let's see, what do we got? We've got Y or X and Y end stops. We're not using the Z end stop here. That's what this cable is sitting over here. It's just, I haven't pulled it yet. So this end stop is not being used in our setup because we're using the BL Touch. So speaking of the BL Touch, this is where I had to do some custom wiring here. So this is our Raspberry Pi. The Octopus does have a Raspberry Pi connector on it. So it's got 2 5 volts, 6 grounds, and then the transmit and receive. So I am pulling both 5 volts, a ground, and then the transmit and receive coming around here, and they're just lining up to run this Big Tree Tech Pi 1.2. Okay. The BL Touch is coming over here into the BL Touch connector. Now, I was having some issues. I thought, well, darn it, do I have it in the wrong order? And I verified it's in the right order. I made sure and got the pins in the right order from looking at the pins on the old board and the new board. And I still was having some issues with it not triggering. And come to find out, I just need to put the pull up, like the caret symbol. And that solved it. So a quick Google search solved that. So for right now, let me see. I think that's pretty much everything. I did move the X end stop over to here. I just put the end stop over here, marked where the holes needed to be, drilled them through, straight through for M3, put M3 hardware and lock nuts there. And it is able, as you saw, to trigger on this piece without bottoming out. So we're good there. We are still using the Y end stop. Now, what I'm deciding to do with the bed is, you'll see I've got some really long wire, and I went in with Wago connectors here. And there's a very good reason for that. Because if I take these wires And I kind of, I don't know, put them in here like this, bring them around, and run these up. They're going to make it all the way up to the bed. That's why I cut them this length. I'm debating whether or not I actually just resolder these wires on rather than do any type of connectors in the way. The other option that I'll have is to, once again, put a mount underneath here for the Wagos and the thermistor, and we'll just run everything up there to that and then a short run to the bed. Trying to decide. So one way or the other, I'm going to have to shut this off in order to actually wire up the bed. So that's kind of where we're at. We'll get into the setup. We'll walk through the setup files and explain what I did on the setup files here in a little bit once we get some basic wiring done. Hey, Royal Nomi, welcome in. Welcome in, otherwise known as BC23D. Welcome on in, Royal Nomi, and your 23 rating party. Hey, Pez Liz. How you doing, Miss Liz? Huh? How you doing? Welcome in. We so we're doing the final couple of pieces of wiring here. And don't worry, I am going to still recad this back piece and probably create a lot more work for myself in doing so. Just to be able to clean some things up, because the one thing that you're not seeing here is how I just drilled a hole in the bottom of the rear compartment. And, you know, drilling a hole in plastic is always a good idea, right? Because I shattered right through it because, you know, like any normal man, why would I do a smaller pilot hole and then make it bigger when I can just do it all in one shot? So I pretty much splintered the bottom of the board, and then just went ahead and put some electrical tape on it so that, you know, that'll protect the wires. They're not moving around anyhow. Okay. So I am going to have some excess wire out here. Like I said, I still need to make a final determination on how I am going to route the wires for the bed. For now, I just want to get the bed mounted so that we can actually do a print. And the way I did this was I put red on the red, or the power, and blue on the negative. So, and I'm using wires from the, I believe it was the LH Stinger kit, or no, it's from the BZBot 235 kit, I think. Had a lot of blue and red wire there that looked to be at least 18 gauge. So how is everybody doing tonight? Hey, Epic Man, welcome in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yeah, like I said, we do have a little bit of an excess here. That excess, though, will allow me to bring everything up and literally resolder right at the, sorry. We do have a lot of excess cable here, but this will let me literally come right up here and either put some quick disconnects right at the bottom of this platform and then go right into the bed, or potentially even just solder directly to the bed. Hey, Nick, how's it going? Da Vinci, yep, welcome in. Built Over Bot, how's it going, my friend? Hey, Chewy. Ken Talon too. Wow, everybody's here. Glad to see everybody. Glad to see everybody. So we just got the bed back wired in, and to make my life easier, when I decided to go to the um, Raspberry Pi 1.2 board, or excuse me, the Big Tree Tech Pi version 1.2 board, um, what I decided to do when I did that was, well, why recreate the wheel, right? I took the um, I took the SD card out of the CB1 module that was on the Manta M5P E3 EZ board and stuck it in here. It worked. So all I had to do was um, run updates. Literally, I ran updates on the host, and then I fully deleted the Clipper install and used Kaya to do a fresh install, so everything is fresh and new. We did do I did reflash the Octopus board. It had a version of Clipper on it. I don't know if it was going to be compatible. It was just easier to reflash it with the latest and greatest version, so there's no version incompatibility. We are talking to it over UART, and everything, as you can see, is up and running, and there's even some previously sliced files that are on here that we'll be able to do some test prints with. Now we still have, I'll say, some legacy stuff here. The adaptive mesh and line purge, I know that is built directly into Clipper now. I just have yet to go and figure out what I need to do to set that up. So it's just easy enough to keep using the old stuff. It still works. And then I do have input shaper on here. I can mount and run an input shaper on this thing again. I'm probably not going to. I'm just going to use the old input shaper. We do have the old macros. The nice thing there is, once again, nothing changes. I didn't really change anything. I added a third lead screw and changed the parameters for the Z tilt adjust. So when it calls that during the print start command, if I can find the print start command in here. Here we go, print start, where it calls Z tilt adjust, it's already there. We just changed some of the parameters so it goes to the front, the rear, and the right and works it out. So that's going to work. And I can tell you right now, the bed's not doing this. So we're doing good. How are you doing today, Bearded Printer? Hope you're doing well. So all of these macros were working before. I really didn't change any of the macros. What I did wind up having to change, and you see that there is a printer.manta E3EZ. So I downloaded this, brought this up in Visual Studio Code, and had it side by side, so I was able to copy and paste, basically. So on my printer config, I basically took a generic boron trident on an octopus, copy and pasted it in, and then went through and started modifying and cleaning some things up. So you'll see it makes a reference to an EnderXY triple lead screw on a Octopus V1. The MCU, we're running UART, so once again, dev TTY S0. I did put the baud rate in there just to make double sure that I didn't have an issue. You can do that sometimes. And then basically copy and pasted this top part from my previous configs. So where the data G codes go, all the includes, so that would be there. The kinematic sections, so that was good and stayed the same. And then what I did down here was basically left the pins alone and just double checked everything. I was at 16 micro steps. The default for a Trident was 32. I said, what the hell? Position min, position max, end stop, those things needed to get updated. The run current voltage got updated. And then we rinse and repeat for Y. The other thing that I had to do was go and look at the direction. Is the direction going in the right way? Every single one of my motors was going the wrong direction. So I had to come in here and just either put in an exclamation point or take out an exclamation point. So that was fun. Z-stepper, we had a little bit of a difference here because we're using a virtual probe. So I needed to enable that, add the, min, max, and all that good stuff here. The extruder motor on a Trident, you skip motor 5 and the extruder motor goes into motor 6. Why? Because that way it's the same, the base file can be used between a Trident and a 2.4. Meaning on a 2.4, motor 5 would be Z3, the fourth Z motor. So you just skip that on a Trident and your extruder would be in motor 6 regardless of a Trident or a 2.4. Now the easiest thing for me to do would have been to leave it there and physically just move the stepper motor and the wire. I didn't want to do that, so I had to go and dig out the pins and make sure the pins were right. And then when I finally started right before stream to test the extruder, it kept shutting down and I realized I changed the step, the dir, and the enable pin and forgot to update the UART pin. Remember to change your UART pins, folks? Because that's how it's telling it, how to command, what set of commands to use. So I hope everybody's doing good tonight. I saw a few of you over there in Nomi stream prior to this, and some of you over in Free Heathen stream as well. Yes, so we're going to get to that, Lost Sync. The bed heater, once again, we had to change the bed heater because remember the bed heater on a Trident or a 2.4, you're running an SSR, and you normally trigger that through HE1, not bed out. So I had to change the note here to bed out. Thermistor stays the same. The heater pin I had to verify and make sure and get that correct. It is correct. Definitely get your sensor type, the sensor pin, make sure that that's correct. Your min temps and stuff, copy over the blank PIDs. And then the probe. Here was some stuff where I needed to add some things as well. I added a few things here because it wasn't working right. And I had to go do some Google Foo because I was like, everything is pinned out right. What is going on? And what I picked up on was the need for the caret here on the sensor pin, so a pull up resistor, as well as there's a few other parameters that were called out by somebody that said, this is how I got mine to work. Copy paste, hey, everything's working, right? Change the micro steps on the extruder to 16, not 32. I think I left it to where, yeah, I think I left everything to 32, even on the extruder. You got to make sure to change that rotation distance because the rotation distance on a Voron is around 22, 23 because it's geared. This has gearing in it, but it's a lot different This is the exact figure that I had on the previous one for the BQH2V2S Lite, which is what we're running here. I think the micro steps might have been 16. I did put it at 32. It should not make a difference, but I will roll it back to 16. Um, Rotation distance was the same. So rotation distance, if you don't put rotation distance, if you do not add this line into your config, it defaults to a 1.8 stepper motor, which is steps, which is exactly what we have here. Um, the other config did not have this listed, so it was a default 200. You can have it or not, it doesn't matter. Turning the heater pins on, the thermistor, min temp, max power, and min extrude temp. And then here were some other things that I needed to add. These three lines, um, these three lines I needed to add because if I don't, it fails trying to do the purge line. So I'm like, no big deal. You just realized you weren't following Nomi. Bearded Printer, how are you not following Nomi? Or BC23D, since she takes over that one as well. She has 2 accounts. Hey, Pete Savas, how's it going, my friend? How's it going? I saw, didn't you post that you had an issue with your positron where you lost the, was it the GT2, yeah, GT2 3 mil belt, right? That sucks. Let us know if you ever find that. Pressure advance and the pressure advance smooth time, I did go ahead and modify these to from the defaults to what I had on this printer before. It looks like I calibrated it, even though there is a comment there that says needs to be calibrated. So it looked like it had been calibrated in the past. So we added some stuff and probe is now working. Fan control, make sure you're plugged into the right place for all 3 of them. I do have a controller fan called out here because I will be adding a fan in the back here. That is going to happen. Dude, there's like no fan in here, and I just put my hand down here, and I can swear there's a bit of a breeze in this board, and there is no moving fan. It's kind of weird. I am going to mess with this CAD to add a 4010 fan just in front of the Big Tree Tech Pi. There is a space over here. Let me show you kind of what I'm talking about. So there is a big open space here. I'm going to CAD in a mount for a 4010 fan. It will be faced to blow outwards. And then on the plates that I'm going to put across here, I will put some type of like vented opening here with some pantyhose underneath to keep anything from falling through those openings. So it'll be able to draw air in from the top deck and then suck it through and blow it out the bottom. And then I'm not sure if you can tell, there's that hole that I drilled so that I could fish the 2 end stop wires up and through. And like I said, I just covered that hole with some electrical tape and then use the Capricorn reamer to poke a hole through it so that I can, I tried to clean up the edges as best as I could because that plastic did shatter when I punched through the bottom. So, oops, it's good for now. The wires aren't going to be moving, so it's not going to be causing any additional abrasion there. But I am going to CAD and have to redo this back corner. Also, I only have 3 of the 4 screws in here because the mount for this is one of the holes is in a different place than the standard Raspberry Pi. Is what it is. 3 out of 4 screws works. Ionic breeze. Yeah, it could be. I don't know. Oh, and Chewy, thanks for gifting a sub to Lost Inc. I appreciate that. Let's go back to, were we over here? I think we're over here. Hey, Waters, how's it going? How is the motor driver situation going? Motor driver. We'll chat about that again here in a second. So I did leave this in there. It's not hurting anything. It's gonna try and trigger and it's not gonna do anything because there's nothing connected. I will add a fan in here eventually. Um, I added the temperature sensor so you can track the temperature on the Big Tree Tech Pi and the Octopus. And then the homing section. Z-Safe Home, we did pull the XY position so that it goes to the center of the bed. Z-Tilt Adjust, I did modify these positions. And yes, it goes left, rear, right. So it goes left front. Help if I switch to this camera. Yeah, so it goes front left, rear, and then front right. So just like a trident. And I've been playing around with the probing locations so that where the probe is at is near to the center here. It's a little bit to the left, but it's close enough. We've got bed mesh in here, and I also have the information here to do a bed screws adjust. Yeah, that's a little hard to do a bed screws adjust because these get loose real fast on the back, and then the front being lock nuts, it's a little hard as well. Now, what I had done the last time was I used some aluminum spacers here and hard mounted it basically like a Prusa bed. And I may go back to this. If I wind up taking this off and resoldering wires, I will go back and just hard mount it and take the springs out altogether and just hard mount the bed. Because we've got the BL touch, it's going to be able to come all the way up as high as it needs to. And yeah, we got our KB3D mug, we got our Pezlish shirt, so we're rocking it today. How's it going, 3D Medic Vince? So we got the bed mesh. I've run a bed mesh. Everything there works good. I've run the bed screws. One issue with the bed screws. It'll hit this spot over here. And then as it's coming up to go to this spot, because we're looking at where the nozzle's at, it will hit the BL touch right here and kind of bend it in some as it's going past. So it's okay if you hit it once or twice. You're not going to destroy it as long as it's not catching. It's catching the bottom down here. It's not catching where the wires are at. So we're okay. And we're not doing a bed screws adjust every time. What else we got? We do have, the call out for the EXP to set those pins, even though we're not using it. And we don't have any displays called out. Now, one thing I did think about doing, I do have Clipper screen installed here, and I should be able to take the screen that we had on the EZ and mount it right here on the left side, and then run that cable right down underneath the deck, possibly through here, and it plugs into the back of the Big Tree Tech Pi here. So as long as that cable's long enough, we might be able to take that, slap it right here, and once again, everything's working. And then this is pretty much copy paste this save config section. I literally copied and pasted it from the previous config on the different board over here. Why? It's got your PID tuning for the extruder, the PID tuning for the heated bed, the Z end stop position, the Z offset, and your bed mesh. Now, I have, um, we went through and we did I did a homing and a Z tilt, and then I did a probe calibrate. And doing a probe calibrate will then come back and set the Z offset, I believe. I believe it's the Z offset that it, right? So that's the difference between where the probe's triggering and the nozzle itself. So you should be good there. Just make sure that you've got nothing on the tip of your nozzle. And I did it cold. I tend to run it cold and then run it hot as well. But you really don't need to do both. That's kind of where we're at right now. So everything is working. Again, we're able to come up here, do a homing sequence. Do a Z tilt. Still not the case. And hopefully my cookie CAD here is not boogered. It's been open for a while since I think it's been open since the 3D Printopia show. So this thing does have a spool holder over here on the side that I'm most likely not going to use just because it sticks out of the side, and I think I'm going to come up with a different solution. And because I can't seem to get the little bit of PTFE tube out of the top here, I'm going to have to go like pretty much have a feeder tube and then into this. And that's got a blob on it. This not letting me stick it in. I think it's a blob in there. Hey, Retro Maker, how are you doing? Oh, awesome. And there's filament in it. So I think I'm just going to have to do the fun thing. Let me drop this down. But I don't know if you can tell, the bed is not rocking. It is rock solid. So Shenanigans is here, needs to see this. The motor driver situation, everything here is working great. Everything's lined up. And as you see, we just did a bed mesh and a Z tilt. Now I'm trying to get my Z tilt down to a tolerance of 0.0075, which it does get down below. It just takes a little bit. Sometimes it does it within the number of tries. Sometimes it doesn't. It fails out. No big deal. Now what I'm going to try and do is I can't get this tube out, and I can't get, I realize there's some filament in there. So what I'm going to do is basically heat the nozzle up and force said filament out. Of course, now I need to find my filament plunger apparatus again. Like I had it, I found it, I used it. What did I do with it? I put it back, I think, where I had it. There we go. See what happens? You move things to a new location and then you can't figure out where you put it. And then when you do find it, you're like, okay, I'll remember it's there. Unless you're in your 50s, and you don't. I did set it, I believe, yes, the probe is staying deployed while probing. And that just saves a few seconds for it to keep going up and down. Now, with any luck, yeah, with any luck, hoping I would be able to push this through, but that's not going to happen, and I feel like I'm stuck. So, do I have the right size wrench? I have a wrench that I can make any size, so we'll do that. All else fails. Yeah, that's what that's what was stuck in there that I couldn't get out. So that's now out. Now to see if I could get this PTFE tube piece out so I can put the other one down in there. There we go. Just started trying out some electroplating using Hendrix tutorials. Neat. And this does have the whatchamacallit, the little lever to flip that will unlock it and lock it again. So we got filament in there. Let's do a filament load. I think I have the direction right. Looks like it is. And hey, we got filament coming out. Sweetness. So now that we have filament coming out, what we're going to do is I'm actually going to switch you up to the overhead camera. And let me drop this down and clean off any gobbledygook, and then we'll actually start a print. And what I'm going to do is print do like we did normally, and we're just going to print a cube. And that cube is going to be I think it's like 120 millimeter, maybe a 60 by 60 square, just a couple of layers high. And what that's going to do is let us dial in that first layer. And I tend to do this on my printers is, like I said, just a simple cube. Make it something within the size of your printer. And the whole purpose there is just to dial in that first layer and to make sure your first layer is dialed in. And if you haven't got one of these yet, get one of these. I hardly ever put the handle on them, but using those to push plastic through that's stuck in a nozzle. Because normally what I get is so like if you look at this piece, right? If I can get it in the camera. I didn't chamfer that. So what happens is when you get a little blob on the end there, it gets stuck and can't get through that tube. And so that's why that piece of filament was stuck there. So make sure to chamfer your tubes or run, in this case, 0.3, because if you don't, you're going to have an issue there. Hey, Techno Side, welcome in. Yeah, Waters, who was Evil Diesel's trying out some electroplating as well. He's really interested in doing some electroplating stuff. And we're going to be playing with Cookie CAD Elixir Witch's Blue. So Cookie CAD Elixir Witch's Blue. And y'all remind me when Zombie comes in here. That's the sample print for the box turtle. You wanted black and red. So we've got Galaxy Black and Galaxy Red ASA. Printing the parts out in. Keep that over here so we can show him when he comes here. Get another print started while that's heating up. Speaking of heating up, I guess I should be looking at, yeah, the bed heated up, good. Wasn't even looking to see if the bed was heating up. But once again, this is the BQ H2 V2S Lite. This is an extremely, extremely compact extruder. It's basically a NEMA 14 stepper motor attached to the all aluminum extruder with a heat break and a little fan. What is it, 4010 fan? So yeah, shooting for operational within 3 weeks. Oh, yeah, Bev is paying the new space. Yeah, I saw that she said that, and I reached out to her to say on Instagram, like, hey, how can we come and help? Because you're asking if people in the area want to come help. And she said that she was going to be there Monday and Tuesday, and unfortunately, I already had plans Monday, and Tuesday I had to work, darn work. So maybe this weekend I'll try and get out there potentially after stream on Saturday. Come out and help however I can. But I'm looking forward to seeing your all's new space, and I got to get the 2.4 and that box turtle going again. It's been sitting out on it's just not turned on, so I need to go and re-verify everything again before I bring it out. Yeah, so the issue is it was at the top of the extruder. So that little piece of filament that we have was at the top of the extruder. So it was between the extruder gear and the PTFE tube. Now, one place where I had that issue a lot is on the orbiters. So the feed tube from the gear down to the bottom of an orbiter is a metal tube. And that did a reset on the SD card. for whatever reason. And actually require me to, at the very least, do a firmware reset. Maybe not. Yeah, so because that little piece, that it's basically a little bulb, and I've thrown it away. You can, the end of a piece of filament will have a little bit of a bulb. That's why they do tip forming and ramming functions, is to try and get rid of that little bulge at the end. And it will foul up your extruder sometimes. Like, it'll get through the gear, but it can't pull back up and out. And that's what was happening. The rotation distance, this has rotation distance that we had set on the previous board. Should be no different running this board, because that's basically a mechanical setting. So the mechanical setting didn't change. This is direct drive. So this is a reverse Bowden setup with a 0.3 millimeter inside diameter. Do a 40-40-40 cube next to make sure rotation distance is correct for the Z-axis. So these are, what are they? Yeah, they're set appropriately the way they were. You've done metal to metal plating and anodizing before, but I couldn't get the conductive ink working before Hendrik put out the recipe. Gotcha. Or below min temp, and that is most likely because too many tries to hit tolerance. So what I'm going to do here, I've got a really crazy tolerance set here on the BL Touch, and also it's nice they have the I'll say the index over here on the right now. So BL Touch, rather than make it, I'm sorry, that's actually Z-tilt adjust. Instead of making it 0075, just make it 01. Like, it doesn't really need to be that precise, especially not on this printer. Like, I'm trying to put it to a level of precision that is just really not required. Oh, thank Epic Man. So yeah, this is a EnderXY. This is a Ender conversion by Additiva 3D. This is an OG Ender, Ender 3 that was converted. Picked it up off eBay for like 70 bucks, you know, on an auction. And we converted it, and from the start, it only has the 2 Z motor. Okay. And you can see that those Z motors and the lead screws are about in the middle of the bed, and then you've got the Z rails that are a little bit forward. And this thing would do this. It would wave up and down. Hey Daisy, how's it going? It would rock up or front to back as it would go up and then go down. It would rock front to back, even with anti-backlash nuts in. And I was like, what is going on there? So I went ahead and printed all the parts, and they've sat here for like a year because we've just been working on other 3D printer builds. So we finally brought the parts out and slapped them in there. I'm using a spare Creality motor that I pulled off the X-axis of a Ender 5 Plus that I converted to a 0G Mercury 1. I had a spare lead screw. I had to go get one of the, I'm going to say a clamping um, coupler. And what I mean here is this style of coupler where you're clamping around the lead screw versus um, one of these style where you're doing set screws, because it's going to make a difference whether you're on a ridge or a valley of a lead screw when you're doing the set screws. And also, these flex a lot, especially when the bed's all the way up at the top. So using these rigid couplers is what we needed to do. Okay. Um, so I had to go and order one of those because I was missing one, but now I've got a spare again. Um, the board that we had in it before we couldn't use. We needed a sixth motor now for the triple lead screw. Luckily, we had pulled this octopus board out of the Voron 2.4 that I was just talking to Waters that I'm going to take to Ecovate 3D here when they move into their new space, because that printer we put a box turtle on it, and we swapped the tool head board from an SB2209 CAN bus board to the LDO Nighthawk stealth burner board, which is USB. Well, when we did that, oh yeah, we're a tad bit high. Where's my adjustment? Boom, boom. Still high. So the purge went down fine, but this is way high and creating a blob. Getting closer. This is why I do a big cube, so it gives me time to make that adjustment. And let's go to the overhead view here. And I'm just looking at the way it's laying down. Most part, that's pretty good. I'm going to drop it just a little bit more. They are still picking up and tearing. I'm going to stop. And I will save that. So as you can see, we started getting it down on there. We did start pulling some of it up and tearing. Now, what I want to do is just take this and try and pull it apart. And I can't pull that apart. So that's actually really good there between the lines, but we might be a little bit too close now, and that's why it's pulling up. So what I want to do here is drop my bed a bit. Fine, I'll home the printer. I just want to clean all the gunk off the nozzle that may have been there. So this uses, it's like an M4 like quasi, it's not a true volcano nozzle. It's like that. It's a little bit shorter, and it's an M4 versus an M6. So it's a proprietary nozzle, which kind of stinks. Um, so let's give this another shot. Now that we started some height adjustments. And how are you doing, Daisy? I still need to send you something. And thank you. Um, yeah, it's an ender bed. I made the retry tolerance 0.01. So that should hopefully fix that a little bit. I mean, hey, I thought I was doing pretty good when I did get it to, I've seen it down to 0.0 038. Now, does it do that every time and reliably? No. Can it? Yes. Yeah, proprietary nozzles are kind of stinky, but like I said, it's only specific to the BQ H2V2S Lite because it is so much smaller. If you got the regular H2S, I think it's a standard nozzle. Hey, Print and Play Keela's Way. Thank you for the 50 bits there. Welcome, welcome. Hope you're doing well. And if you happen to, I don't know, look at that Discord link, you might see something different there. You have a special gift for me? You have a special gift for me? I'm interested now. What I'm probably going to wind up doing too is this drives me nuts that it flops over. I'm going to kind of wrap. I'm going to wrap a. Oh, what am I thinking of? I'm going to do like we did on the black box and wrap a spring steel wire around it after we straighten it out, and that way it will actually stand up and go up and down instead of flopping over. Okay, now let's see if this goes down well. Could also be that I'm trying to go too fast for an ender as well. I mean, who would have ever thought that you can overrun an ender? Does lay down a nice, pretty prime line, though. Hey, Timor, how's it going? Okay, and we are getting plastic down. Hmm. Almost like, I don't know, either the bed might not be flat. No, that's 0.279 is the range. So yeah, high on the right, low on the left. That could be why it's working okay over here and not so good over here. Bring in some stuff. All is well, good, Timor. We're we're pushing plastic again with our uh, EnderXY here. It is, uh, yeah, pushing plastic, which is what it's supposed to do. We're having some issues where it's not actually adhering to the bed, which could also be, I don't know. I don't know when the last time I cleaned the bed. I might have to clean the bed. That would also make sense too. Technosite makes you want to revisit your Ender NG. Yeah, like I think the Ender NG, from what I've seen, is probably a lot better option than this. Um, yeah, so I seem to be having issues right there where it's not sticking, like at all. Really weird. Which it may be that it's just that could have just been the PTFE tube being fallen over and it was basically starving the extruder. Again, another side effect of this falling over versus being a nice filament path. Or it could be, like I said, that there's fingerprints and stuff that just need to be cleaned on the bed. Okay. Yeah, the Ender NG looks really good. I've been watching was it Armor 3D over on YouTube as he's going through and doing his NG prints and looks beautiful, right? He or his builds. He's in the process of doing another one right now. Like I said, it looks beautiful. Um, I'm just, it's a lot of work to make an Ender 3 better. At which point do you just buy something else? Right now, it's don't get me wrong, I've done my share of Ender 3 conversions, like the belt printer that Rittenhouse has, this printer. I've got two Ender wires downstairs, you know, among other things. And they are great base platforms to do other things on, right? Um, but you shouldn't have to, is I guess what I'm saying, right? it's a good project for a used free printer. It is, Chewy. It is. And it's going to be a lot better project than this. Okay. I just, I guess at this point, I wouldn't do another Ender 3 conversion. It needs to just be a good working printer off the bat. Oh, catching the thing over here. I'm just letting it go because I'm trying to see where the problem areas are here. And I have a feeling we may just be going too fast. Not for the flow rate, but just overall. For it to get good adhesion is where I'm at. Yeah, under $100 is a great price for the hardware you get from an Ender. That is true. Well, and that's what I'm saying, Waters, is yeah, you can, you know, the boards can be used. Like, you don't have to use the boards. You can get a different board for your 3D printer use and do something else with the board. But if you're going to replace the extruder, if you're going to be replacing a hot end, um, those are those aren't the cheap parts, right? Extruders, hot ends, and boards are expensive. Motors are commodities, right? And there it pulls up because we're going to stop that so we don't cause a bigger mess. And looking at this, I mean, it almost seems like we're thinning out some through this. It's kind of hard to tell, right? Especially now that it's a little bit mangled. But I mean, adhesion wise, other than right there, we're pretty good. Let me try and clean this off. Get some IPA. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I had enough add-ons to my Ender 3 that is over at Evil Diesel's house that it really was just an Ender 3 frame. Like, I had linear rails on everything. I had I had linear rails, I had a Micro Swiss all metal hot end, a Sherpa Mini extruder, a Penda probe to do probing on it, right? So it really wasn't an Ender in any way, shape, or form other than just having an Ender 3, I'll say, extrusion chassis. And I am going to take this back off before I pierce myself in the chest with it, which, by the way, would not be very fun. And I think what I'm going to want to do is I might look at a way of over here on the side between this, the rear of this and this side, doing some type of mount for a spool of filament right here, and then put a filament runout sensor right on the edge so that we're bringing our filament around like this. I think that'll make it easier and not stick out the side as much. So what I want to do here, I doubt very seriously if I have a profile over here for this. Let's see. I doubt if I do. K1C, Rat Rig, Rook, Positron. Yeah, I don't have one over here at this point. And I don't know. Yeah, let me try and get something set up over here. EnderXY. Okay. And we'll do just another Orca cube or low cube. And all I'm doing real fast here is just dropping the speeds down. And we'll go ahead and send that over to the printer. So I just cranked the speeds down. I was going up to like 120 and I backed that down to like 80 and 60 just to give it a little bit more time to actually lay that layer down nicely. And I feel like we might still be a little low. So once this gets started, I will raise it up a bit. It could just be that we're not giving it enough like we're squishing it out too fast before giving it a chance to actually lay down. So all right, Water, sounds good. Take it easy. A little off topic, but I found a good way to support tool head cables on older printers with 2020 topics. Okay, so this looks like it's coming off the back of an Ender 5. probably an Ender 5 Plus there. So it's a gantry that's coming up at an angle, and then you're using a, I was going to say key back, but it's a badge holder. Go around the umbilical. So the only thing about this isn't an actual extrusion on the back. It's a, this is a piece of bent aluminum. So there's no real place. There was like a hole right here in the center that allows us to mount this. And that's where I'm saying I'm probably going to mount something on the side here for a filament run out on the side. And that way my, that will come over, and then I'll use, we can either do like a, some nylon, some 3mm nylon, 2.85 nylon like Prusa does, or we could just wrap this umbilical with, like on the outside of the umbilical with some of the spring steel. It's an option. But yeah, this is interesting, and that does look like it would work. Yeah, that's an Ender 5. It does look like it would be useful and work. God, that is horrid. Oh, I'm sitting here like, hey, let me show you this. And once again, this sounds horrid. I can't believe my Ender 5 probably sounded like that when I first had it. But yeah, that's definitely pretty decent setup there. I've seen similar stuff to it. It might fit at the end of the side extrusion. That's a possibility. I just have to be very careful. Like I can figure something else like that up, definitely. We just have to be careful because um, the Y rails are going along the top. If they were going on the inside, it'd be a lot easier to mount stuff to the side of the rail because you don't have the carriage to get in the way, right? Yeah, I'm not going to put RGBs on this until I know it's working. And then there would be the possibility down the road of doing an RGB or something. That could potentially be something that can be done. I mean, there's probably a couple places that we could easily add some RGB, like down the inner vertical rails here. You can add some RGB lights, do some on the rear rails as well. I just, I don't know if this is worthy of bling-tastic. Rook 2020. Yeah, I could possibly fit right down here on each side. It wouldn't light up the whole thing, but it could light up part of it. I don't know why this thing is overshooting so. Even re-pig calibrated it. Ah. Why is that off the bed? 120 by 120, didn't it? Okay, so the good news is that it's laying down nice. Guess it helps if I do the overhead view for y'all. So speed was probably a factor. Every time. Speed will get you. Hey, Shadow Queen, how's it going? Pulling up tabs alert. Hey, not a problem. We are trying to dial in our first layer here on the EnderXY printer. I think we finally figured it out, and I think part of the problem was I was just running a first layer way too fast. I mean, this is a modified Ender after all. And like I said, I think we may still be just a tad too low. Hard to gauge on textured beds. I think cleaning that bed off a little bit and then slowing it down definitely helped. And I've been raising it up a little bit because I'm seeing a slight ripple when I'm looking at it at a kind of a steep angle here. Let me see if I can show you all what I'm talking about. don't know if I get that slight ripple to show up. So it's going to be right here in this front area. There it is. You see that kind of ribbing there? And I think that's where we're still too low. So I raised it up, and it seems like we're getting a little bit better, more consistent, and that ripple has gone away. So you're going to get a ripple like that, one or two reasons. One, you're either too high or you're too low. If you're too high, you're going to be seeing some separation and gap between the layer lines. In this case, the lines back and forth. And if you're too low, then it's basically still squishing out between both sides. So I'm seeing a little bit of a wave in the back as well. Once again, we're dealing with an Ender 3 bed here, so it's not going to be perfect, but we'll get how we, as close as we can. How's it going, Jano? So we've got the Ender 3 backup the Ender 3 XY backup and running. Once again, we're running a triple lead screw. Because of that, we needed a different board. So we repurposed the Big Tree Tech Octopus board from the LDO 2.4. So we've got left rear, right rear, so B and A, X and Y, the three Z's, Z0, Z1, Z2, and then the extruder. We're running UART, which is what this cable harness right here is. It comes around and plugs into our Big Tree Tech Pi 1.2 board. That provides our host for this setup. And then this back here is our BL Touch that we're using for our Z-axis. This is the actual Z end stop that we're not using, so it'll come back out. X and Y end stops, bed and tool head thermistor. Power in, power out to the bed. This is coming out to the extruder. So pretty simple setup. We catted up this front box. This front box does include a pass-through that goes through this 4040 extrusion and then a separate rear box. We're going to modify this CAD and I'll have to redo this layout. And I'm going to put a 4040 fan right here that's blowing exhaust down. And there is a hole right here that I drilled through it, so I'll make that into the file so I can pass the Y end stop wires up through the bottom and plug them in. I've got Wagos back here right now that are just setting in with VHB tape. I probably will just still use VHB tape. I'm not going to take the time to model those in. I thought about modeling in a cable trough here, but right now we're just using 2 zip tie points. Yeah, the bed wires are currently long and going through some Wagos here just because I wanted to get it up in printing. And the wires that I cut that go into a Wagos from the board are long enough that I can bring them all the way up and just solder them to the board if I wanted to, and just replace the board wires. Trying to decide if I want to do that or do some type of Wago connectors on the back bed mount plate so that I can be able to take the bed off at any point in time. But yeah, right now we're just checking out and trying to dial in our first layer height. And I really am going to have to do something to hold this up because that's driving me nuts. One of the reasons it's flopping over is this is pulling so hard that it's basically um, folding this over, taking up the slack in that PTFE tube. So, yeah. This is a pretty mighty little geared extruder. The tool head on this is the BQ H2V2S Lite, running a 0.4 nozzle. Works really well. Oh, thanks, Jano. Yeah, I've used the BL Touch successfully. In fact, my Ender 5 Plus that's converted to a 0G Mercury 1 is running a BL Touch. Works perfectly well. There's nothing wrong with a BL Touch. You need to figure out the wiring for your Manta M5P plus CB1. Yep. Yeah, Jano, if you want, just if you've got some links to the board itself, or not the board, but the like the printer and stuff, send it over to me, and I'll try and take a look and help you out if I can. Okay, so here we were too far. I raised it up. There's a little bit of weirdness right here. Sorry. Let's there's a little bit of weirdness right in here. Not bad. But overall, I think this is close enough that we're gonna call this dialed in. Have I tried a micro probe yet? I have not. I have not tried the Big Tree Tech version. I haven't tried the TL Touch, the what have you. This is the only one that I've tried out. Or I mean, I'm sorry, I've done the Big Tree Tech. Excuse me. I've done the BL Touch. I've done a Penda probe. I've done the standard boron rectangular looking probe, and I've got CNC tap and beacon. I do have some eddies somewhere around here that I bought that we're going to go in the two ender wires. I just haven't put them up on the shelf or put them up on the bench to work on them. Yeah, the CR Touch. Am I doing the box turtle for this printer? No. So this box turtle, these are colors picked out by Zombie Hedgehog, and I'm going to be rebuilding one of my box turtles and bringing it up to the LDO kit spec and sending it off to Zombie, because I know he wants to play with one and he just does not have the time to build one. And I've built 4 self-sourced, and I was part of the LDO kit beta tester group. So yeah, this is Galaxy Black and Galaxy Red ASA. And that combination is looking very, very good. And I am happy with this. I'm not going to print this whole thing out because it's just going to be a waste of time. At this point, we're good. save that config, and I will say, what would everybody like me to print? Like, I could do a Benchy. I can do an Orca cube, because I think those are still in here. Do a Voron cube. I haven't done a Voron cube in a while. I think doing a Voron cube on an Ender is kind of a little bit blasphemous. But yeah, seeing the second layer go down, that's looking a lot nicer. I think we're going to be good. So, Murder Bear. Chewy, do you have the link for the murder? Actually, here's the link. I've got a. I'll have to pull this over to the other printer, so or the other computer. So what I'm going to do is paste that in there, hit chat, and that will let me come over here to the chat that's over here. Maybe. Click on it over here and open it up. That way I can download it over here. Okay. Goes away. Orca. Open. Rear Bears 3MF. Oh, really? It's a multicolor one. I'm not going to be able to do that over here. Because I don't want to go through and try and strip it out and make it all one color. I'm going to be lazy. Um, okay. That's the downside of things these days is everybody's doing 3MFs that's coming in with multicolors and like not pre-sliced, but pre-settings, which is great unless you're trying to do it on a new and unique printer, and then it just okay, fine. What we're gonna do thing that makes everybody happy. And by that I mean the thing that's probably we're gonna do a Benchy. Because why not? Might be wise to get your print off the bed. And once again, I only did 2 layers to a certain point. And what I try and do is look at, can I pull that sheet apart? If you can pull that sheet apart, your layer lines are too far apart and you don't have good adhesion. If you can yank on that like that and it's not tearing, then you've got pretty good layer lines there. So once again, the translucency is just this filament. Got a nice little sparkle sheen to it. Yeah, good bottom layer. You can see some blemishes, but that's when we were playing with the layer heights, but we're good. You can see where we're at here, where we're getting a nice, good, consistent second layer. So I think we're good there. We're going to heat up. We're going to run a Benchy because why not, right? Darn it. was going to try and loop this around and see if like looping it around once would help keep it from pulling itself over, but probably not. I don't know if adding yet another zip tie would help anything. I just really need to put something in there to hold them together, or give it a little bit more um, structure. What I do with the snips? And there, and I should probably do another one down here. I do have some nylon filament somewhere, Lost Ink. I just have to find it. And I do have some spring steel wire. That is most likely what I will put in it. And probably what I would do is like we did on the black box is we wrap the spring steel around the PTFE tube, and then we put another, put one of these over the whole thing. But this should help for now. One of those things of, you know, how much time do I spend on it right now? Because I kind of just want a print. Kind of get the feeling like it's doing a full bed mesh instead of an adaptive mesh. I want to try and figure out why it's doing a full bed mesh when it doesn't need to. So it's like it's not doing an adaptive mesh and it's not doing the, seems to be doing the line purge, but it's not doing the adaptive mesh. The adaptive mesh, there's the line purge. Under adaptive mesh, it should just be meshing where it's going to print, not the entire bed. Macros. The fact that it's starting that purge now before it even gets on the bed is something interesting too. So something's not getting called right. Yeah, camps doesn't seem to be working. It didn't do the entire bed, and I don't have a camp settings config. I have not set, I'll say, camp up the same way. Like I'm still using the old adaptive mesh and line purge macros. And I know that Clipper has now integrated those. So that's where I may have to figure that out. I just haven't gone and updated anything. Whoops. Include camp adaptive meshing, line purge. Now I'm noticing yours, it's actually calling it from a /camp. So I'm wondering if I need to actually call out the full file instead of just adaptive meshing and line purge. It's definitely got an old version of adaptive mesh on here. So I'll have to go through and reset that up and fix my macros. Yeah, we'll set that up. Not a problem. Hey, Aaron's Twitch. How's it going? Working for a bit while you make dinner and prep for your stream. Gotcha. When do you start streaming, Jano? Hey, Shenanigans. Yes, we are pushing plastic, right? I will bring you guys in for a, since you're here now. So we are pushing plastic and we've got our first layer down, right? We've got our triple lead screw set up. The bed wire is still jank because I'm trying to decide if I'm going to mount like Wagos and stuff up here to kind of do like a Voronish type easy to remove bed thing, or if I'm just going to run the wires all the way up, in which case I will either solder these somewhere or I will literally desolder the bed wires and solder the bed wires directly using the ones that I just supplied. Now, the front box, I think you were here when we catted it up. It's a 250 by 125 box. It's got 4 mounts to the extrusion using M3 bolts. This is a fully printed pass-through of the 4040 extrusion. So it protects any wires from getting chafed up here. My original plan was to run the these UART wires through this channel directly. And because I went with a different setup, I don't know why I cut them this long the way they are, so they just go down and around. I can easily cut these probably in half and be done with it, make 2 sets out of them. We've got the BL Touch coming over here, wired into the BL Touch sensor. This is a dedicated Pi port. We're running 2 5 volts, a ground, and then transmit and receive for the UART. These are 20 gauge wire for the power and ground, and then the UART are 24 gauge. Yeah, we've got our power coming in, bed going out. I just VHB'd a couple of Wagos back here. We're running a Raspberry Pi V1. Excuse me, not a Raspberry, a Big Tree Tech Pi V1.2. So basically, it's a CB1 module. And I need to figure out the wiring here. I think I'm going to just replace this with a solid wire that comes down, and I'll leave a hole over here in the corner for that wire to come down in the back. These wires come down the side. The bed wires will come up right here as well. So I will cut a hole in the plate for that. I'm going to add a 40 millimeter fan right here in this area. It's going to be exhausting out the bottom. And that will let me, on my top plate, just put some holes that I will put some like nylon on the back, and nylon like pantyhose on the back. And this whole thing will slide straight over. It'll have vent to allow air to come in from the top deck, but have that pantyhose covering to prevent anything from falling on the boards, and then get exhausted out the bottom with that single 4010 fan. Should work fine. But yeah, this is how everything's laid out. And because this is the Big Tree Tech, I will be able to grab the same screen that I was using on the other one that mounts to this front corner. I'll be able to mount it right here, and I'll just run the ribbon cable down here through the side, or maybe through here, and it will plug in right here on the Big Tree Tech board, and I'll be able to have clipper screen running. But yeah, we are printing. We're printing a Benchy using Cookie CAD Witch's Blue PLA. And so far, the bed's rock solid. I mean, it's a Creality bed, so it, yeah, let's go here. It's not a 100% flat bed, right? It's a little wonky there, but 0.284 range deviation for a Creality bed, not bad. Now, if I put if I was able to get the Mike 6 build plate, like the one I had on my other Ender 3, that's going to be flat. You're not going to do that with a PCB bed, though. It's going to taco. Yeah. So that is what it is, but that's why we're using the BL Touch. It will compensate. By holes, I mean hexagons. I don't know. Because so here's the thing. With the size that this opening is, I can create a rear plate and a front plate, and basically just screw, 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 screw. Same thing in the back here. And cover this with two different pieces. That way, if I need to get in here, I can just take the front piece off. And if I need to get in the back, I can just take the back piece off. Might be worth doing. Or I could cut it out of 3mm ABS in one shot, just like a normal deck panel, and it would just slide from the front into the back, because it's going to go under these two motors here, and it would just slide right across the front and into the back. Those are kind of my two options. And if I'm printing it, hexagons are the bestagons. If I'm cutting it out on the CNC, because you do not laser cut, please, dear God, do not laser cut ABS. If you're doing acrylic, yeah, and you got a CO2 laser, by all means, laser cut it. But if you're using ABS, I'm going to have to cut it out with an end mill, and I'm not going to be able to get hexagons out of it. Not small ones, at least. Well, and that's the nice thing with a BL Touch is I could go back to glass, and I wouldn't even put a PEI sticker on it. I just go to glass. But if you're doing glass, then you're also doing binder clips or something. And when you do that, then you got to be, you have exclusion zones you got to be careful of. And besides, I got a KB3D plate. I've got, I don't know. I've got a, whoops. I've got a Fabrico Honey Badger plate. I've got a textured PEI and a 0G carbon fiber sticker plate. I got this one. I got the bed for the Ender 5. Was it the Ender 5 Pro size that I did the fully enclosed 0G Mercury 1 that I did under beta test. So, my knowledge, that's still in beta test. And my good friends at Fadis sent me another sticker. And because they're so cool with the sticker that they sent me, or I'm sorry, I got some stickers, yeah. They sent me a new set of stickers. And with my new set of stickers, I got another little Fadis Dude pen. And with the swag, they also sent me a 0.6. This is their thick nozzle, but that's a 0.6 for the Mark IV. So I still haven't, yeah, let me see. I've got 2 nozzles for the Mark IV from Fadis that are 0.4. And I also have some, I think, 0.4 Obsidian high flow nozzles. So I need to put those in there and start printing out some stuff for the box turtle as well, because I need to print out some, or I take that back. I've got a Fadis nozzle in there now because I've been printing Clear Pet G for the diffusers for the box turtle and TPU for the respool motors. But I've also got to start printing TPU for some death racers. Yeah, the Fabrico satin plates are nice. Yeah, so I have a few plates that'll work on an Ender 3 style printer or an Ender 3 size bed. Let me rephrase that. Because once again, the custom built 0G Mercury 1 that we worked on a little bit, that's sitting right over there right now because we needed the counter space or the shelf space. It's got a, basically it's a Ender 5 Pro bed, which is the same size as a standard Ender, right? So, and that's actually got a Mike 6 build plate on it. It prints good. That printer, I built it and it went to the KB3D booth two MRFs in a row. That's when that's what started the relationship with me and KB3D, and now we're like peas in a pod. So let me see about, rather than going top down, let's go with the tripod camera again. Still not going to work. You get to see my gut and Pez Liz. I'll try and suck in the gut some. But I mean, it's a boat, and I am going a little slow for a Benchy, but it is what it is. It is what it is. Yeah, I just think before that I was running, oh God, that, and I'm doing gyroid infill. What is my, I didn't even look. 3 walls, okay, 15%. It's actually doing crosshatch. Thought that was um, gyroid there for a second, but it's crosshatch. Typically, and honestly, that does kind of look like gyroid. I'm confused. Because it does say it's crosshatch in the slicer, but that looks like it's doing gyroid. I don't know. Where was I at? Oh, normally I tend to use cubic or adaptive cubic because it's a three-dimensional. It's not grid because it's rather than being just squares, it's squares on a corner, right? So it gives added strength in all 3 dimensions. And if I'm doing a large print, I'll use adaptive cubic because it will leave more of a hollowed inside. And then depending on the print, you can do layer modifiers and add a denser infill at the bottom of the print, which will add more weight to the bottom. And then you leave more hollow and adaptive cubic at the top, because the last thing you want is a tall model where the weight is centered above the middle and more top heavy, because then it has a tendency to fall over. So, you know, basically work your stuff as you can. I really need a camera that I can zoom in and punch in. So I think what I'm going to do is get another um, Tiny 2 for this side, which will then move this one up here, because the one that's up on my overhead right now is the one that continuously keeps freezing. This one is never frozen. So I think what I'm going to do is get another Tiny 2 for this side that I can zoom in if need be. And then put this one up here for the time being. And just keep working my way around. I really like the Tiny 2, and the Tiny 2 is a 4K camera. So it's really good, and you can zoom it in. It'll track you if you want it to track you. But yeah, if you want to try that satin sheet, definitely give it a shot. It really works well. It's a nice sheet. Um, and I am probably not going to sit here as this prints this whole Benchy. But I think we've got enough here. I'll pull you guys in that you can see that it is printing a nice Benchy. We got a nice first layer going there. I don't know if we can get a shot to see if I think we still have adequate cooling here. It's normally a little bit higher up where the cooling will get potentially a little iffy. But we're doing good. I will definitely post the end result. Take a couple of pictures of the end result there. Yeah, so the Honey Badger plate, this is the satin plate. So this is the satin plate. It's got a very minimal amount of texture to it. Not a smooth plate. Definitely not a smooth PEI sticker. But this is a satin sheet. It's got just a little bit of texture to it. Yep. I got to spend some time tomorrow. So tomorrow I've got I've got a couple of meetings, and then once I get the meetings done, I have to go to the I'm not going to go to the post office. I think I'm going to go to UPS to ship those 2 printers out to the winners. With the way the weather's been the last couple of days, I was not going to get on the road. Because for those of you that don't know, yes, I have a pickup truck, but it's a rear-wheel drive pickup truck. And I'm in North Carolina. North Carolina does not know how to deal with snow, right? And North Carolinians do not know how to drive on snow and ice. So doing that with a rear-wheel drive truck, I wasn't gonna even try it. So I'm going to go out and I'm going to ship those printers out via UPS and get those shipped out tomorrow and get tracking numbers to people. I believe everybody else that won anything on the Streamiversary stream, if you won a gift card, you should have that information now. If you don't, please let me know. Everybody with Polymaker got their codes and we figured that out and they've got them working. I apologize. I was copying and pasting into Excel and did not realize that Excel was trying to be helpful and was changing the numbers because they thought it was a certain type of number, right? So that was my bad. I got that fixed. The product stuff, I think Apis said it's going to be a couple of weeks before it gets there. Or I'm sorry, Fatus for the Apis 2 extruders. And LDO Motors did say it was, I think, 2 to 3 or 3 to 4 weeks for all that stuff to ship out if you got anything from LDO. Once again, it's the Chinese Lunar New Year. So if it didn't get out before, it's not getting out there for a bit. Because the whole country shuts down. And then, hey, Wilk Allen, how's it going? I have not paid, and you mentioned Pirate Ship before. I do need to go and look at Pirate Ship. Do I have to create an account with them and stuff? Which wouldn't be a bad thing. I just need to go through I mean, that's probably going to be one of the things I'm going to have to look at is figuring out shipping and, do I get a printer to print labels and all that good stuff. I didn't even check. Yeah, this is like an hour and a half Benchy. Easiest setup. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll have to go and do that. Even if I can print out a label on standard paper that I just tape on a box, that's no big deal. I can do that and then take it down and drop it off. It only has USPS, DHL, and UPS. That's cool. Yeah, that's good. I can do that. And Daisy, I did not look. You made a comment earlier that you had a surprise for me. How fast can the EnderXY go? Well, here's the thing: is I had the I've slowed it down. So when I had it before, I had it going at 120 mils on the outer edge. And the problem is depending on what filament you're running, I was having some adhesion issues. So to ensure that I had a good chance of getting the first layer dialed in, I slowed it down some because I couldn't tell, was I too low, was I too high, was I too fast? Slowing it down let me get the print going. Now what I'll be able to do is go back and raise the print parameters up a little bit and see if I'm able to print faster with this particular filament. Right? So it's kind of a game on how fast can you print with a filament, and you get to chase that game every filament you print with. Right? Dealer tracking number maybe in middle of receipt or bottom of receipt. Yep. Yep. Okay, so it checks all of them, and then you can pick whichever one you want as far as price and time. You shipped the big toy semi truck to the UK for 70 bucks. Regular UPS was over 400. Holy cow, Will Cowan. Yeah, we'll have to check into that. Hey, 3D Cafe, how's it going? So yeah, right now this was sliced. So slicing, unfortunately, I don't have it set up over on Orca Slicer on the streaming computer. It's over here on my laptop, but I dropped it down to 60 for first layer, 80 for first layer infill, 80 for outer wall, 120 for inner wall, 50% speed for small perimeters, 120 for sparse infill, 80 for solid, 60 for top surface. So basically I just went and turned it down. I should be able to get better speed with a Core XY. However, once again, I was having bed adhesion issues trying to just dial in the first layer. I want to get a couple of prints and then I'll start working on, can I make it faster? Because here's the deal. It doesn't matter how fast it prints. If it's going to fail due to bed adhesion or layer adhesion, it's not worth my time to print. You know, the K1C, I'm using regular standard profiles, and I've been ripping prints off of it left and right, and everything I prints great. And people are like, well, you can speed it up. I can, but why? If I want to go faster, and here's, I'll do a Nero, a Canuck Creator minus the pop in. If I want to print faster, it's called engaging more printers. That's what we do. And over here with the Vorons, because these are the same size, I can take the same file. I may have sliced it for the 2.4 or I may have sliced it for the Trident, but I can copy and paste the files over and they're going to print the same. Not going to care because, you know, I can't print like, I can print a 300 file on the 350 downstairs, but I can't take a 350 file that's bigger than 300 and print it up here. But if I need to print faster, I just need to engage more of the tools that I have here and print more things faster. That's normally what happens is either Evil Diesel needs to print things and he doesn't have enough printers to get things done simultaneously, or he needs to print something that is bigger than his build size, and he sends me the file and I'm like, okay, what color and what material? You're painting it? Okay, what material? Right? It doesn't matter what color if he's going to paint it. And then I print things out. If there's a special requirement for a multi-material, like a true multi-material print. Well, um, we got the black box over here, and soon we're going to have the IDEX set up on the rat rig. So, because that's going to be coming here probably in the next month, we'll do that upgrade. And then we'll bring the 350 upstairs, tear that partially apart to rebuild it because I've got I think it's a Cybor CNC XY gantry system with 9 mil belts. And when we do that upgrade, we're also going to put a takeoff tool head and a tube on it with a 1.0 nozzle. Because why not? I feel you there too, Petty. Plenty of coffee keeps you going, and well, keeps me going to an extent. And then I've got dinner. Mrs. Dragon brought dinner right before the stream, so it was Chinese. So I ate an egg roll right before the stream, and I've got General Tso's chicken to reheat when I get downstairs. Try putting a Bowden Dragon burner and remote mount that extruder. Well, that's another way too. I mean, you can make the extruder lighter and you can go faster, but I can make this motion system right here go faster. What I can't make it do per se is adhere to the bed properly and not tear it off. And because the faster you print, the more chance you have of tearing a print off the bed while you're printing, right? Which once again means failed print. Does it happen quick or does it happen afterwards? Do you get heat creep, right? I have given up. Like, I wanted to print a Mandalorian helmet in Polymaker Silk Chrome. Why? Because it saves a lot of painting if it's in a silk chrome. Twice, 2+ days into that print, I came in to it air printing about that much above the print because I got a nozzle clog due to heat creep. Right? And when you're 2 days into a 3-day print and your nozzle clogs due to heat creep and it's the material issue, I'm done. I'll just print in a different, I'll go through the pain of either just spray painting it the way it is with layer lines or doing what I can to clean it up to paint it with less lines. And for those of you that know, we're in the process. I've got the parts printed for a mechanized chain sword that I've shown on stream. I've got a bolter, a storm bolter, which is basically a dual magazine fed, dual barrel bolter pistol. I've got a Star Wars, I think it's an ED-11 laser rifle, and a set of Imperial Mandalorian Commando armor to assemble and then figure out what I need to reprint because I've gained some weight since I printed it. What happens when you print things and put them under the desk for over a year, right? But we're going to start printing some things. We've got some of our helmets over here. This is a Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine Chaplain helmet. So we're doing a few other things. You sent me something on Discord. I hope you'll like it. Check it out after the live. Okay, Daisy, I will. Speaking of Discord, did you look at Discord? There might be a couple of new things on the Discord. But yeah, I mean, there's ways that you can make it faster. And there are machines that can print very fast and smoothly, right? So I printed this out, and I'll go bench side so it'll be a little bit closer. Now you can see that it warped up here, right? It warped some. and it warped while it's cooling. And just about every single one of these that I've printed has warped, and it warps at this end, and it's because it's cooling. And I have a feeling it's because of the geometric pattern down here, right? So the overhangs on said geometric pattern didn't come out as well as I would like, but I printed this in 0.6 at or with a 0.6 nozzle and I think 0.25 layer heights. And it came out well, but I just think like here it looks decent, right? But if I kind of put it up at an oblique angle, it, yay, no. And a lot of times it's because the way they've designed this, they're anticipating you to use a 0.4 nozzle. So with a 0.6, you wind up having lots of places where you're just doing like a dot, right? So I'm not sure. I may reprint these on using a 0.4 nozzle on a different printer. This is printed on the Rat Rig in a 0.6 nozzle. And I mean, it looks good. You see a lot more of the layer lines on here, but that's because they're thicker and wider, right? But it's smooth, right? Except for, like I said, right in here, you'll get a little bit because it's having to do a point here or there on it. But this is a functional print. Both of these these electronics boxes here were printed in the Rat Rig with a 0.6 nozzle and 0.25 layer height. And they print a lot faster. But once again, if you're looking for something with detail, you can't print with a 0.6. You got to go with a 0.4. Like, don't do a maker chip with a 0.6 nozzle. Trust me. I was doing it out at 3D Printopia doing box turtle maker chips because all I had was a 0.6 on a Revo nozzle. And I came home, I swapped it out for a 0.4, and they're looking a heck of a lot better. So, hey, R2 Builder, how's it going? You see something new. What do you see new, Pezliz? Yes, bang Discord and see if you see anything new. Yeah, your new logo and banner look amazing. Who's the talented person behind those designs? Well, folks, if you like what you see on the Discord, and I've got to take the time to sit down and rework all of the stuff for Twitch and YouTube and stuff like that. Daisy, Daisy E_02, is the artist. And we've worked together to come up with the logo. There's going to be some new emotes. There's going to be some new subscriber badges and such. So, yes, coming soon. I now have most of the files, and I just need to basically take the time to sit there and go through and update all the socials and stuff like that. The next thing I got to do is figure out if I'm going to actually rename my socials from Digital Dragon 72 to Digital Dragon 3D. Because that is not an easy process on some of them, right? Yes, Daisy did really good work there. I really appreciate all the work that she did there. Like this banner up here is going to be changed, alerts and all that good stuff. Yeah, so let me rephrase that. The first trays I did where I didn't have these pieces here. So this is the all-in-one, so you don't have to use heat sets and screws to mount these little ledges on, right? When you do the ledges, they have to be supported, and they're supported with a gap between here and here, which means everything starts cooling at a different. And I think that's part of the reason why this end may be bowing up. Now, this end bowing up is most likely because of this um, this this design, right? If this bows up right here, it's an aesthetic thing that you will never see. Once again, it's an aesthetic thing that you will never see in operation. Your extruder goes right here, so this back end doesn't mess with it. Your extruder is going right here. Your front respooler is here, and this isn't. This is still flat. The inside piece here is still flat, and your roller's sitting up here. So this warping down here is non-functional. It will not impact the function of this part. If this was exposed, I would be worried about it. I'm more worried about, do I like the way this looks and with the inlays? So I'm going to have to print the inlays, which I'll do over here on the X1 carbons, and then I'll put an inlay on here and see how I like it. Maybe take it and send it over to, take some good pictures and send it over to Zombie and see what he thinks, because it's going to him. And if he wants me to, I'll reprint those in a 0.4 nozzle. But yeah, yours did the same corner. It impacted the function of your brain. Yeah. Yeah. But here's the thing. 1, 2, third one sitting over here, which I think is the one I'm going to redo, and the 2 downstairs. I've got 5 of them. They all worked. They all work. Like, you'll know. And here's the thing. The only time you're going to know is if you ever take that tray completely out, which means you're disassembling your box turtle. Once this is in there, you're only going to look at this from the bottom. You're not going to be able to tell necessarily that that's warped, because you can't tell from the bottom. You can only tell right here that it's warped. But from the bottom, if you're looking at this, especially in black, you're not going to be able to tell that that's warped. Okay? Can you tell that that's warped? So yeah. The other thing is, like, this doesn't have a chamber heater. So this thing over here, the rat rig, does not have a chamber heater. I now have a chamber heater in this one, and I'm wondering, and I've done it kind of over here some for these parts, where I stagger the bed at the end and slowly drop the bed down, so that, because that's the problem, is the bed's cooling down, and it's when it's cooling. It's not warping during the print. It's warping as the chamber and everything's coming down, because the bed temp is dropping fast enough that it's allowing those parts, because once again, there's air gaps in here, but then right at this level, it's solid. So that's why it's warping exactly where it's warping, is because there's solid layers here, and then you've got all this open air stuff here. And so this is, yeah, that's why it's warping. I want to say it was, think it was MG Longshot over in the Discord that redid these with a flat bottom, specifically because of this type of reason. And one of the reasons they have this design in here is like through these legs here on both sides, there's cutouts so that you can zip tie your wires to the bottom of this. He just created zip tie points in the base print. So yeah, that's what I'm saying, Lost Ink, is rather than let your bed completely go from 110 to all power off, just drop it down in increments as part of your end print macro. Would be drop it down, to 90. Wait, do a wait for like 20 minutes, then drop it down to 80, drop it down to 70. Yeah, you're losing. Yeah, so reverse heat soak is to allow that part to cool down slowly. Yeah, I've been watching a lot of Slant 3D lately. Um, he's got a lot of good videos in there. So it's definitely worth checking out. You helped Pink Live with a part the other day and it worked like a charm. Okay, yeah. Um, have I got a delivery date on the Cobra combo? Not yet. I haven't got a delivery date. I did get an email from them today. Um, with the link to go check and see if I got a $30 gift card from being one of the early adopters, and I didn't. I wasn't on the list. Sucks when they pull like 300 names and you're not on the list. But oh well. All right, thanks, Benchy. So yeah, I do not have a delivery date on the Anycubic. They were saying mid-February initially. But once I get the delivery notification, I will let you guys know. I'm gonna have to figure out where to put it because this is gonna go back down there. Really, I mean, I like to put it here where the LH Stinger is. I actually need to print more stuff with the LH Stinger because it's a pretty awesome printer and it's not as loud as I thought it was going to be. But I need to find another place for a couple of the printers, um, so that I can print with everything. But I'm probably going to put we'll have the K1C here. We'll put the Anycubic over here. So once again, we're going to have everything. It's got a top sitting filament system. So we got the AMSs. We'll have the Anycubic here with the Ace Pro. We'll have the Box Turtle. And I'm sorry, somebody asked about the Box Turtle. The Box Turtle is open source. And the Box Turtle, there you go, Pufferberry Elnats. The Box Turtle will work on any Clipper printer, got to be Clipper, that you have access to the host. Okay? So when I say access to the host, I mean if you can go in and install, you'll have to SSH into the host and install some Python code. Because you have to install the AFC Lite. You would have to be able to attach it either via USB or CAN bus. That's why the AM or the Box Turtle won't go on a Bamboo, right? The Box Turtle won't go on. I don't know if it would go on the Kitty, right? I doubt if it will. It's not going to go on the Creality. because the Crealities are using all-in-one boards type of thing. I mean, you're going to have to work a little bit harder, right? Um, it's a lot easier to put them on things like a Voron, to put them on, you know, I can put them on the Voron. I can put them on the VZ bot. I can put it on the Annex Engineering K3. I can put it, well, can't put them on the black box because the black box is running rep wrap. But believe it or not, there's somebody that's tinkering with putting um, uh, clipper on the duet boards on here. And if you clipperize this, there's no reason why you wouldn't be able to. You would just have to do it via USB because this uses CAN FD, which is not proprietary, but it's duet boards do not use the same CAN bus that we use on everything else. So you would either have to change the boards on here completely and go full clipper or something like that. There's nothing that says I can't put one or more on each head of the IDEX if I wanted to. I would just have to completely change the filament path because the filament path on the VCore 4s is way too constrained and long to be doing filament loading that way. It just, yeah. And at the same time, Rat Rig is supposed to be coming out with some type of MMU that, if I remember right, is going to sit inside the machine. If I remember the way they were talking about it. Hey, Free Heathen, how's it going? Free Heathen rating with a party of 37. Holy cow, Free Heathen. How are you doing today? Hey, Sigareki Designs, how's it going? Bearded Printer, welcome back in. How are you doing, Free Heathen? So we are up and running. So I'll show you guys where we're at. So we're up and running. We had to play around with a little bit as we came on the stream. Hey, Bexy Beans. And we spent some time trying to get our first layer dialed in. I had to slow things down. I think we were going too fast for the material to stick, as well as I really needed to clean this bed. I forgot, once again, we've been working on it, greasy fingers everywhere, and this bed hasn't been cleaned in a while. So we cleaned it off, we slowed things down, and we're printing a Benchy right now. If you've ever wanted to see what the inside of a Benchy looks like, here's the inside of the Benchy, and all it's blurred out because this is not autofocusing fast enough. But we built this printer a while ago on stream, like over a year ago, and it's kind of sat there because the way it was designed, it used CNC aluminum, just like the rest of the CNC aluminum here, for the bed mounts. The problem is this is a big pivot point right here across where these two bed mounts go. And the bed, as it would come up and then go back down, it would rock front to back. And we couldn't keep bed level. Yeah, oh no, a Benchy. Chatting and designing. Well, we've done some designing recently too, because in order to do this mod where we added a third lead screw in the back and a lot of printed parts, right? I could have kept the metal mounts up here. I went with these printed parts because they just look cool. We needed to find a third motor. That one's running a lot hotter than the other two are, so I need to check that out. I might just have it set for a different voltage than the others. But I had the third motor here. It's the same size Creality motor. And I had an extra lead screw from Creality. Imagine that. All I needed to do was find another rigid clamp coupler, because I prefer these style clamp couplers to the standard springy ones. But then we needed another board because we had a new motor. We had too many motors now. because each one of these are independently driven. Well, recently we took this Octopus 1.1 board out of our LDO Motors V2.4 kit, and we put a Leviathan in there. So this is the same board that was in that V2.4. We've got power in for the motors, the board, and the bed, and then power coming out to the bed. The flashing light here is both for the bed and for the hot end. So the hot end's right here. We've got 2 other spots for additional heaters if we needed to. We've got our fans, our hot end, our part cooling and hot end fan, our bed and our hot end thermistor, and then our X and Y end stops. And then our Z end stop is back here in the form of a BL Touch. And then this is a custom made cable to power our Pi. We're not running a Raspberry Pi. We're running a Big Tree Tech Pi version 1.2. We're powering it over the UART. We're using 2 5-volt cables, a single ground cable, and then our UART cables. Our power is coming in and going and being distributed. This is DC power via Wagos. And what I'm going to do is all of these electronics boxes we catted on stream. And this actually has this pass through this 4040. We actually created a full printed pass through, because just like you see here, this is very sharp and you've got to protect your wires going through here. So this is a full printed pass through. And then this is a separate box in the back. I'm going to make some modifications here to add a 4010 fan blowing down. And then the covers are going to have some ventilation in them, so it can draw air through the top covers and get pushed out through the bottom back here. And that should help provide cooling for everything. And we'll maybe fix a couple of other things here. But all in all, this has been a fun little project. The triple lead screw, this bed is now rock solid. We've got Z-tilt, so we're getting a nice, as flat as you can get a PCB Creality bed. And yeah, everything's going great. And I saw that you were designing something today. Free Heathen, tell us, what was it you were designing? What new model were you working on? You're going to go rest, had a long night in hospital last night. Why were you in the hospital, Bexy Beans? Congratulations on finishing your project. I'm not 100% finished, but we're done and we're printing. One of the other things we had to do is move the X end stop. It was mounted here. We mounted it over here so that we can bring the wiring into the umbilical rather than having a wire sitting over here. And it was easy enough to do. I still need to finish the bed wiring. I'm either going to mount some Wago quick disconnects on this rear mount piece for the bed and be able to take the bed off a lot quicker, or I'm just going to solder the wires up and call it done. All in all though, we're real close. It's now printing, so that'll be good. And good night, Bexy Beans. Sweet dreams. 2 new Mortis Core Troopers. Nice. Nice. That'll be good. You need more little troopers. So I hope everybody's doing good. Like I said, if you want a sneak peek of something, we'll do a bang Discord. And there might be some Easter eggs over on the Discord server. Nice shirt. Yes, Bearded Printer. This is my Pez Liz shirt. I meant to wear it when I streamed after I found out Pez Liz made partner. It was in the laundry and I finally got around to doing laundry. So wearing the shirt. The first set of printed very well. Good. Good. And, Free Heathen. I have found Elegoo prints well. And a lot of the things that I've been doing, so all of the, well, not all of it, but the vast majority of the Warhammer 40,000 chainsword, the mechanized chainsword, the bolter pistol, and the storm bolter pistol that I printed have been in Elegoo gray PLA, and it prints so nicely that I just went and bought like a case of it. And I think it's just going to be a good grade just to print a bunch of stuff in, whether it's miniatures or what have you, especially things that I plan on painting anyhow. So you dropped it in general and Dragon's Den. Okay, Da Vinci, thank you. Da Vinci was printing or was posting a link out on the general channel in Discord on methods that you can do to try and keep from getting warping on ABS prints. And thank you for the 100 biddies there, Bearded Printer. I appreciate it. And I finally got the, I know I said I was going to become a member, I think, of your things. And I finally got, I was waiting for my new business account for the funds to actually become available so that I could use my card to actually set up and pay for some things from the business side of things. Yeah, who would have known that, trying to transfer sums of money into a brand new bank account that they would want to hold on to it for a while. So, yeah. I guess something about anti-money laundering laws or something like that. But anyhow, it's all set up now, so I'm gonna go ahead and join your membership on, I think it was Things. So have you tried to drop it yet? You use cosplay and Polymax nowadays. It's strong and robust for. Well, yeah, and it all depends. Once again, most PLAs are pretty decently strong. The thing that you need to also be is strength to weight ratio, and you'll get more strength out of more walls than more infill. Infill is going to add weight, but you'll get more strength out of adding more walls. And normally, adding more walls, especially on something that has either a big overhang or a domed area, adding more walls, because I've had issues with doing helmets where because of the slope, you will get artifacts on the top of the helmet because you don't have enough walls. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to do, 5 walls through the entire print. When you're doing vertical, 3 walls is great, but when you start to do that high sloping domed area, do a layer modifier and increase the number of walls. Right? Use your modifiers to either hollow out parts of the print or add additional infill on certain parts of the print so that you get a, like once again, we were talking about, hey, people are getting tall printers. You can print really tall things. Well, guess what? Depending on the geometry of that tall thing and how you've got your infill set up, it may be top heavy. So that may be where you might want to add a modifier down at the base and do really dense infill at the base just to add more weight to the bottom of a print, and do some areas in the middle where you're not. And when I say areas in the middle, I don't mean like do some big square block as no infill. You can either do adaptive cubic or potentially take an orb or a cylinder and create a negative space within the model, right? Things to think about on how you can change the dynamics, and that's going to reduce the amount of filament that you use in the print, use it more effectively, and things like that. And hey, Pezliz, thank you for the 101 biddies. I appreciate you. We've got the Pezliz, and we'll do the big heart. I can't do the big heart with my finger. So big heart for Pezliz. Well, you have to add walls to all cosplays designs so they can. Yes, and you also have to count for sanding and stuff like that. Yep. Yeah, triangles to annoy the finish. Like I said, I tend to use cubic and adaptive cubic because I think they work out the best. And hey, Do Flunky, how's it going? Do Flunky, I want you to know I have not shipped the printer yet. I'm going to either today or tomorrow. The last couple of days here in North Carolina, we've had very bad weather. And, well, let me rephrase that. The weather was not too bad. If I was living in Alaska or Ohio, where I've lived in the past, or Colorado, it would have been nothing. It would have, you know. But here, they don't know how to deal with the roads. And so they put de-icer out like 4 days in advance. So by the time it snows and ices, it's useless. And I've got a rear-wheel drive truck, and I wasn't leaving the house. So you're down in Georgia. Yeah, so you understand. So, and people are telling me some good ways to, I don't know, save money rather than just go directly to UPS. So I'm gonna do some things, and we're gonna try and get that in the mail tomorrow or Saturday. The other thing is normally I get things packaged and I send Mrs. Dragon down to actually just drop them off. And Mrs. Dragon had um some tests done a couple of days ago, and they were supposed to put an IV in. And let's just say that the bruising from the missed IV attempts, she's got a bruise that's like that long and goes around the palm of her hand and up on both sides. I don't know, like whoever this person was that tried to put an IV in, they need to go back to training because, yeah, we'll just say they need to go back to training. Now, granted, I've had times where they've asked an EMT walking through the ER after they got done delivering a patient if they could tap me because the people in the ER couldn't tap me. Now, the one time I was just dehydrated thanks to the VA. But yeah, I've had times where they've had to have an EMT come and tap me. And yeah, you're not an EMT out on a truck not being able to hit a vein. You know. Yeah, check out that shirt. Check out that shirt. And now that we've got some other stuff that's going to be seen more and more on the socials, then we'll be seeing some merch soon too. I got to get that set up. And then I'm going to have to actually work with Daisy if she's still here. I need to talk to her about doing some merch because I have an idea for a shirt. Yeah, I've got a shirt that I want based on some conversations that we've had. And it's a shirt that I think Pez Liz will like. because we've talked about it before on stream. Doing a merch dance. I hope someone clipped that. See, I do things and I don't think about that. Yeah, people are gonna. Yeah. Hey, Stay Creeping. How's it going? Welcome on in. Well, and I lived in Ohio. They don't know how to drive, but they pick it up real fast. Meaning, in Ohio, you'll have people that'll be like, "Oh my God, it snowed," and then you have people that'll be like, "It's snow, big deal. I've got a 4x4 truck." Boom. I can't tell you how many times in Alaska I was pulling over in a Geo Metro LSI. Let me let that sink in. A 3-cylinder front wheel drive Geo Metro LSI, and I was pulling over trying to help push people out of ditches. I feel like the best car for snow is a front wheel drive car or an all-wheel drive car with a competent driver. I have seen so many people that go, "Oh, I've got 4-wheel drive or I've got all-wheel drive." That doesn't mean all-wheel stop. That means 4-wheel locked brakes. Because guess what? Even with what's the anti-lock brakes? You can lock them up. I've done it. You can lock them up on snow and heavy water, right? Um, Makes a weird sound too, but you can lock them up and go sliding. You hardly ever put your Tacoma in 4-wheel drive in the winter in Iowa, but it's full of tools. Well, and that's the thing is right now I've got a full size Silverado. I just don't have anything in the back. Like if I loaded it up with, uh, well, and normally I would just let it snow and fill up the bed because the snow is going to add weight to the bed of the truck. But I've got a tonneau cover, so it's not going to work. I actually had to take time and throw stuff in it to weigh down the where the wheels are, and you really want it over the axle. Like if you just throw bags in there and then it slides forward, it does you no good. But yeah, your little 3-cylinder Mirage in the snow, yeah, as long as it's not deep. I mean, I've literally snow plowed in Alaska with my Geo Metro. I've also had to have I had to have somebody push me into a parking spot in the parking lot at work. This was up in the military base, and I realized it was a captain after he got me pushed in. But there was just so much slush and slop. There was no traction in the parking lot. And then when I left, because it snowed all night, when I left in the morning, because I had, you've got what am I thinking of? You've got engine block heater, right? So there's a little warmth in the engine bay, but I was trying to back out and I just kept spinning my tires. And finally, I heard this chunk and then I backed out real fast. Luckily, I didn't hit the car behind me, but I got out, was like, "Oh my God, did I damage my car?" No. I could have molded the front of my car. I could have molded a whole front fascia from the ice bank. Because that's what happened is all the ice froze to the front of the car. So when I backed out, it was like I had a beautiful mold there. I could have poured a silicone mold right then and there on it. But yeah. Thanks for the clip, Pez Liz. But yeah, this is really all I had tonight. We're up and running. We're printing. I will take a picture of the Benchy And actually, I think we've got enough here. Let me see if I can get a good view. I think we actually got a pretty clean valve there as well. It's going to be a little hard to see because of the shininess of the filament. This is, once again, Cookie Cad Witch's Blue. But yeah, we even got pretty good cooling on there. Again, we're using a 5015 fan with dual duct. So it's printing well. This camera is going to be hard to see because it's focused. But once this is done, I will take some pictures with my iPhone and get it posted so that everybody can see how well this prints. Once again, this is a BQ H2 V2S Lite extruder hot end system. It works pretty darn well. I don't really want to mess with it, but then I was sitting there thinking, I've got two Smart Orbiter 3s over there. They're kind of small too. I wonder if I can pop one of those on here. You know, why leave something alone? We've got it working. I would just have to redo almost all of the wiring up here. No big deal, right? Yeah, we're doing a Benchy because it was a file that was readily available in Orca Slicer, and I just needed something. We tried to grab a file and download a file from printables. We were going to do the Murder Bear, but it's a multicolor print, and I don't have a way of doing multicolor on this. And no, I'm not putting a box turtle on this. I'm going to make this print. It may wind up going to one of the shows this year, just to show it off and like, hey, I made this thing work better. Have I done a Clockwork 2 extruder? Isn't that the new version of the extruder for the Stealth Burner? Are you talking about a Galileo 2 or are you talking about a Clockwork 2? Because we've done Clockwork 2s because that's just the newest version of the... So Clockwork 1 was on the Afterburner, and when they went to Stealth Burner, it went to the Clockwork 2. Are you talking about the Galileo 2, which is basically like an orbiter internal on a Stealth Burner? Because I have not done any Galileos. I haven't done any Galileos. I haven't done the... What's the extruder that Modbot was just doing for his K1 and for Pete Savis's K1? It's another basically like orbiter planetary gear setup. Yeah, I've done plenty of Filomatrix with the... So the Clockwork 2 is the standard for a Stealth Burner. And when you're doing that with the Filomatrix, it's the easiest way to build Filomatrix. If you're going to be doing Galileo or... There you go, the Cyclops. If you're going to be doing the Galileo or like one of mine has a LGX light on it. One of my EnderWyers has an LGX light on it. Yeah, it's going to be painful to try. You're going to have to be doing some tinkering to get the Filomatrix to work on it, right? Because of the front plate where the filament triggers go. That's the issue. So you're going to have to do a lot of rework there. Yes, Cruising Girl. So the my original thought process was to cut a monolithic single piece of ABS. It would have a cutout here for this wire bundle area and the motor. It would have a cutout over here, a little corner cutout, to allow the power wires to drop down in to feed the Wagos. And it would just slide in from the front over everything. Then I had another thought of, well, if I did it in 2 sections, right, I could probably print it on one of my printers and print in some type of venting for it. And who knows, maybe I put a 4010 here as an egress. And if I place it right, I could probably put a 4010 right here as an ingress. Once again, covering that hole or that inlet with whatchamacallit, nylon. And when I say nylon, I'm talking about like pantyhose, just to provide a filter so that things can't drop directly down on top of a fan like the original Ender 3 fans. So yeah, there will be a cover here. I just haven't gotten around to it. Clear acrylic would be sharp, but I personally, if I'm going to do clear acrylic, I want to clean up some of this wiring a tiny bit more. Everybody wants RGBs. There's lights right there flashing. We don't need RGBs. It's an Ender 3. Like if I was doing an Ender NG where I had to add a lot more to this, okay, maybe. And I've seen some of the cool Ender NGs that Armored 3D has put together, and he's working on one right now. And they look gorgeous, right? It would make sense. I'm not going to add RGB lights to this. I think, how can I put this? I don't think this is deserving of RGBs and having to do something. Yeah, you use RGB to show status. Now, quite honestly, if you really, really, really wanted to, you can mount a NAMI in here. You know, you can design a mount for a NAMI, maybe even bring this out just a little bit proud if needed to. And you can mount a NAMI in here or have it sitting down on the top. You can add a NAMI on here and get all the indications, and the newer NAMIs it would change the color based on what you're doing. Right? But here's the thing. A NAMI doesn't even need to sit on or near the printer. There is zero physical connection of a NAMI, because I've got one over in the Trident. The only physical connection that there is power. And you can provide power through USB 5 or 24 volt. So you can create a housing sitting on your desk and have nothing but a row of NAMIs, and they're all wirelessly connected to different printers. And you can sit there and just look. It's basically creating a status board display of what's where. It doesn't have to be physically attached or anywhere near that printer. It just has to be on the same wireless network because it talks over wireless. Yeah, I mean that's true. You can do status LEDs like that. Just picked up a K-Touch for that exact reason, purpose. And here's the thing. You could take a Raspberry Pi and put I don't know, you could go get a Raspberry Pi or a Raspberry Pi say 500, right? Get a new Raspberry Pi display and set it up. And guess what? You can put Clipper on this. And with Clipper, you can actually start talking to or hell with that, you just need a web browser and you can talk to every single printer on your network. I mean, let's be real. When we're looking at our printers, we don't need a lot, right? I just need a screen and something connected to that screen that has a web browser interface. It doesn't even have to have full internet access, just web browser interface, and I can monitor every single printer in my house. And that's the thing there, Timor. Hey, Daddy Wazzy, how's it going? And hey, Toronto Dan, welcome on in. Um, would I build this? So here's the thing. If I started off and I had an Ender 3 and I tinkered and modded it and blah, 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 and I wanted to do something, but I wasn't sure if I could print everything, source everything, and go the whole Ender NG route, right? At least doing the Additiva kit gets you this setup and an all-in-one price. We're doing well, Daddy Wazzy. Like I said, Mrs. Dragon had a procedure earlier in the week, and she's just all bruised up from it because they had to set an IV, and yeah, the person needs to go back to school. Now, mind you, I've been there. They don't stick me anymore where I don't get a big bruise, but yeah, she's bruised like this on both and down around onto the other side on both arms. So she's recovering. It's just it looks like crud. It looks like crud. Like I said, I need to figure out that rear. That rear. I wonder if I've got them set at different voltages. So 0.6, 0.6. No, they're all at 0.6. I don't know why. I mean, these two are a little warm. This one is hot, and I don't know why. Either not enough juice or too much juice. I'll have to figure that out and play with it some. But yeah, we're up in printing. We're printing a Benchy, and it looks like a Benchy with a really nice shiny fleck. We're printing in Cookie Cad Witch's Blue. Yeah, it looks nothing like a bench. Exactly. Yeah, and next week's going to be fun. I've got to take my truck in for routine servicing, like oil change, air filter, stuff like that. And then I've got my 5-year follow-up for my gastric bypass. And if it goes like normal, they're going to draw like 7 to 9 vials of blood to test all of my different, you know, vitamin this, vitamin that, A1, name it, they're going to pull blood for it. And then Thursday, next week, I go in for my annual physical, which I realized when I made the appointment that I haven't had one in 3 years. So I yeah, I kind of got a scolding. And by the way, the new glasses are awesome. Apparently waiting 2 years and having a surgery, you know, that drastically changed your prescription. So, yeah. Hey, Pezlis, I keep waiting for Zombie, but he hasn't showed up. So, here's the color scheme for Zombie's box turtle. So he wanted uh, Galaxy Black and Galaxy Red. So of course this is Polymaker ASA. So the plan is I'm going to take the box turtle sitting right there, pull it down, tear it apart, and rebuild it to the latest spec, and send that off to Zombie. But yeah, this is printing beautifully. He's on family duty for a little bit. Ah, gotcha. Family. It happens though. Okay, so with that going on, like I said, this is almost, it's got a little bit left to go, but I want to see potentially who to rate out to because I've got food to go eat. It's now 9:30, and eating spicy Chinese at 9:30 on a stomach full of coffee is probably not the best of my decisions today, but what the hey. And let's see, normally on Thursday night would be a Big Jano or a Creatix Brit. Especially because Thursday night is marble night. Our hamster playing games, Jano, Gang. There's Jano. Let's get a raid started over to Big Jano. If I can click the button. And oh, apparently we just started an ad break. So great, perfect time to start a raid. Yeah, you only live once. Exactly. Thank you for the follow. Is that Behanzer? Yeah, Behanzer, welcome. Thank you for the follow. Yeah, eating is important, and I do need to eat. Need to feed the fat cells. So yeah, so thank you everybody for being here and going on this little journey with me. I think we've done 5 streams, and we've done CAD, which was pretty fun. We got on here and CAD up some stuff. We had to do a whole lot of new rewiring. Um, we had to do some troubleshooting, but we did get the triple lead screw in. And from what I can tell, it's working. The bed's very stable, and I've been happy with everything so far. So once again, thank you all for being here. I will see you guys on Saturday. Daisy, I need to send you an email with some stuff, and I need to try and get the new screens and stuff set up so that we can show off Daisy's work. So thank you everybody for being here and have a good night. We'll see you on Saturday. Bye now. And for those of you that are watching this as either a repeat on YouTube, thank you all for staying to the end. Please like and subscribe. Make sure when you subscribe that you ding the bell so that you get notifications of new content. I post 2 to 3 videos from my Twitch stream over here. I'm hoping to get good content or new YouTube only contents. YouTube's also going to suggest a new video over here. So if you can, please click on there and see some other great content. Thank you all. Great day.